Summer 2019, and as far as the eye could see, there was a seemingly endless wealth of questionable isekai, pinched like a wet loaf from the cheeks to divine anime dispensing machine and left unattended and desiccating to rot in the summer's dead heat. Common sense would suggest leaving them all well alone and just sticking with a safer title like Vinland Saga or Dr. Stone, but like the miserable wretch that I am, I had to go and get my hands dirty by picking one up. The offending title which wormed its way into my seasonal watch list this time around was Arifureta Shokugyo the Sekai Saikyo, or Arifuerta from Commonplace to World's Strongest. Expectations, I must admit, were a tad high with this one, as after some cursory research I discovered that the source material was held in something resembling an approximation of esteem by the derelict souls who had dared to engage with it. If you are unfamiliar with the series, let me give you the details really quickly. Arifuerta was a 13-episode anime which aired from July to October of 2019 and was co-produced by studios White Fox and Azried. It's available in both sub and dub and has been licensed by Funimation if you are interested in checking it out. Here is a brief synopsis. The ordinary life of 17-year-old otaku Hajime Nagamo is disrupted when he and his classmates are summoned to a fantasy world and tasked with saving mankind. While his classmates are gifted with shiny new abilities that are useful in combat, Hajime becomes the object of ridicule amongst his peers for only gaining an inferior transmutation skill that lacks any real offensive punch. During a dungeon raid in the Great Orcus Labyrinth, Hajime is betrayed by one of his classmates, plummeting him into the deep recesses of the labyrinth. Though he survives the fall, Hajime is faced with terrifying monsters and misfortunes that send him spiraling into a grim nightmare. Determined to live and return home one day, he resolves, over and over again I might add, to fight for his survival and let nobody stand in his way. Only to later come upon an imprisoned vampire he names Yue, who is seeking to escape her imprisonment from the labyrinth. Taking an interest in him, Yue and later a few others accompany Hajime on his journey to find a way back home to his homeworld, and with each obstacle overcome, transforming him from commonplace to world's strongest. Well, there it is, Arifuerta in all its ignominy, laid out invitingly before us like some 2-week-old leftovers that you have forgot to clear away and that have now, much to your chagrin, begun to sprout their own ecosystem and rather more worrying, and inexplicably at some point achieved sentience. Honestly, the premise from this synopsis alone is rather intriguing for isekai apologists like myself. The promise of a steamy tale of vampire love, betrayal, monster hunting, and dungeon crawling in the dark recesses of the Orcus Labyrinth sounded appealing in a good dumb fun kind of way, and I was more than happy to go along for the ride. And what a ride it was. The series wastes no time throwing us right into the action as we open with series protagonist and by all known metrics unremarkable human male Hajime Nagamo lying face down in a pool of his own self-pity as he recounts a series of unfortunate events that have left him stranded and alone, sans an arm at the bottom of this labyrinth. It's pretty by the numbers stuff up to this point, and right off the bat it's glaringly apparent that we need to handle Hajime with caution, lest we cut our delicate little fingers, as he is quite the edgy fellow. Throughout the first episode he treats us to some poetic delights like the following. Quote, "I'm trapped in a literal and metaphorical pit of despair." Wow. Edgy. We spend most of the opening alone with Hajime as he goes through the 7 stages of the Edgelord's grief, as we are bombarded with a flurry of "I'm in so much pain, I'm doomed, and why me?" Why me, you say? You want to know why you, Hajime, of all the people in the world. Why did this awful fate have to befall you? It's because God is dead, Hajime. He's dead, and it's your fault. Because your mother never loved you, and as punishment for her failures, you now get to spend eternity lying here at the bottom of this pit, frightened and alone, until the blackness comes and eats into the very fabric of your being and makes every waking moment you have left in this world meaningless and shitty. You're stuck here, Hajime, until your final breath desperately flees your body and your carrion becomes lunch for the maggots that infest this dungeon. You're stuck here and you shall know nothing but unrelenting misery, safe in the knowledge that there is nothing you can do to escape this nightmare because that's all you deserve. You're never escaping this living hell, Hajime. So, turns out he does actually escape, but he has been permanently altered by the nightmarish opening 7 minutes, and now sports sexy new white hair, boosted stats, and some beady red eyes to go with his new badass persona. Hajime from then on proceeds to hero his way through the dungeon and the rest of the series, desperately fighting for the one thing a protagonist in a world as depraved and as vile as this needs: his own harem. And my goodness, what a group of absolute keepers he assembles. One and all, they are uniquely loathsome in their own special way. First up, it's Yui, the aforementioned vampire of the Synopsis. A lot of thoughts about Yui, and honestly, none of them are flattering. She comes equipped with about as much charisma as a stack of books resting on a shelf. We find her naked and chained, elfin lead style in episode 2, and right off the bat, sparks fly between her and our hero Hajime. Now, I know what you're thinking. She looks kinda young. It's kind of weird seeing a blossoming romance between a high schooler and what appears to be a little girl. Well, don't worry, it's okay. I know she looks like she's 7 years old, but she's really like 400 or something, so it's totally fine. Totally fine. And it's all of us who are wrong for even thinking that it might be in any way problematic. Anyway, we're subjected to a kiss in episode 4, and throughout the series, Hajime professes several times that Yui is his #1 best waifu, first of her name and first in his heart. My biggest issue with Yui wasn't actually that lolly aesthetic. We've seen garbage like this before, and it wasn't anything new. My biggest issue is her name, Yui. After she's rescued from the big baddie looking scorpion thingy in episode 2, Yui is so gosh darn grateful to Hajime that, like the loyal little puppy that she is, she pleads with Hajime to name her because she only lives for him now. But that's what we want from our harems, right? Pets, not partners. Speaking of pets, next up is Bunny Girl Senpai Shia. She starts out as a walking, talking panty shot and comes across about as emotionally involving and deep as combing your hair. But good news, gradually, as the story progresses, she doesn't change at all. No, not one bit. It's literally not worth wasting oxygen on this rampant rabbit. Oh, I get it. Last up is Tio the Dragon. This lady comes to us with all the subtlety of an earthquake. It's one note screamed incessantly into our eardrums over and over again until we bleed out or go deaf with Tio. You see, she likes to be humiliated. She's a pervert, a hentai. Tio is basically darkness from Konosuba in a yukata. Outside of random party members calling her a pervert, she adds nothing to the series other than a large set of breasts. However, her introduction is the stuff of legends, and it was unique, if nothing else. One day, the party are out doing what parties do. Partying. And they encounter and are forced to fight this pesky dragon. This thing is a straight killing machine, and it seems it has no weaknesses. It's resistant to magic, and despite Hajime's best efforts and Yui and Shia's moos of encouragement from the sidelines, he can never seem to best the beast. Until, that is, he reveals his ace. You see, dragons only have but a single weakness. Their anus. That's right, you heard me correctly, the anus. So he does the only logical thing, the only thing he can do. He creates a giant metal rod and proceeds to ram it so far up the dragon's ass that in a bout of ecstasy, the dragon is forced to submit. As I said, it's the only option. We are then treated to the ecstatic moans and pleadings of stop, you're hurting me, but please don't actually stop from the dragon, as Hajime pushes that pole deeper and deeper and deeper into her abyss. Tio, welcome to the party. Now, aside from the characters and the same variation of the same story over and over and over again throughout the entirety of the 13-episode run, what's really remarkable about Arifuerta is the CG. It's actually stunning. It's stunning that these things were made in 2019. These monsters stumble and bumble around the screen with about as much life and as much grace as a haunted puppet. The fight scenes are ludicrously bad, with characters just jump cutting around the screen at various points, and many of the battles conclude with some random heavy object just dropping down on the monsters from above to wrap things up. As an example of the quality of these battles, check out this piece of awesomeness from episode 4. So here, this Hydrosaurus Rex is trying to kill Yui. He winds up his most fearsome attack and... wow, what a name! Every monster in the series is literally laughable. I'm not sure that was the intention, but for me, it was worth tuning in each week just to see what atrocities invade my screen. Special shout out now to some of the all-timers that we see over the course of the series. This majestic dragon in full flight. The Hydra. This bull. These skeleton warriors, and whatever this pig thing is supposed to be, an orc, I guess? The misuses and abuses of CG in this series are so profoundly terrible that I honestly am left to wonder if it was all just a cosmic joke at my expense. Anyway, that's all I really got to say about Arifuerta. It's trash, and I'm trash too, because as bad as it was, I kind of dug it. It quickly became something to look forward to each week as I waited in moist anticipation to see what mess would be vomited up and served to me each week. And by the end, I can't pretend that I didn't love it in a so bad it's good kind of way. And when the season ended and all hope appeared to be lost, we got the announcement a second season had been commissioned. Hurrah for new things. So in conclusion, if you're a fan of trashy isekai, check it out. Otherwise, it's probably not worth your time watching unless it's ironically, of course. That's the review, although not really a review, but whatever it was, I hope you all enjoyed it. If you are still watching and have any bad anime suggestions for me to cover, please leave them in the comments or shoot me a message via social media. All the links are in the description below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like the video with notifications turned on, please and thank you. And check out the podcast if you haven't already. Until next time, bye bye, love you, bye.